This is how you do it. All right. So this chapter is actually going to be quite useful to you because this chapter actually shows you how to calculate your grades. So if you ever want to do that on your own, you can do that. Okay. Basic average. If we were looking for a basic average, that means everything is worth an equal number of points. So your tests, your quizzes, and your homework are all worth the same. As you know, here, it's not like that. But if we tried to do basic average, we would add up how many points you earned. So you would add up 350, 150, and 135, and you earned 635. And then finally, you figure out your total, 400, 200, and 200. So you earned 635 points out of 800. To get your actual average then, we would divide. So to get a basic average, it's your total points that you earned divided by the total possible points. So if you would have scored 635 points out of 800, you would actually have 79.375%, which is a C.
Okay, so can you do that edit? Oh yeah, this is
This is just getting your average grade. So to get this 635, we take how many points you earned. You earned 350 points for tests, 150 for quizzes, and 135 for homework. So if you add all three of those together, you earn 635 points.
It's payday pitches.
Your tests then were out of 400 points. Your quizzes were out of 200 points, and your homework was out of 200 points. So that's a total of 800. So you earned 635 points out of a total of 800, which means you would walk away with a 79%, which is a C average.
Oh, C.
Well, you might as well round it up.
You gotta
round it up to a B because it's 37.5 round.
0.3 does not round that 9. Nice try, though. He's trying to be slick. You hear that? Okay. Unfortunately, that's not how your grade is actually calculated in the classroom. We do what we call a weighted average. So when most of you get your syllabuses, it says that your tests are worth this % of the class, your quizzes are worth this % of your class, the homework's worth this % of your class. Okay, so each category is worth a different percentage. So that needs to take into consideration when we actually calculate your final grade. So we've got to calculate everything separately then. So if I look at homework, homework was what out of what at the top?
635, 800. I got that wrong.
350 out of 400. Okay, that's your grade for your test. Then you would need to multiply that by the percent that it's worth as a decimal. So 50% as a decimal is 0.5. Remember, 50%, your decimal point starts here. To turn it into a decimal, you move it 2 spaces to the left, so that becomes 0.5. Okay.
Okay, wait.
You're fine. Talk to me. We good?
Like, where did you get those numbers from? And then I remembered, I looked at the top. Yeah.
Okay. Your quizzes. Okay. What was my grade for my quizzes at the top? 150 out of 200. And quizzes are worth 0.3 or 30%.
Right.
Okay. Then finally, your homework. What did you earn on your homework?
135 out of 200.
135 out of 200. And that is 20% of your grade, or 0.2. So now you plug that into your calculator exactly how you see it. What number are you? 13.
Yes. Yes.
Hold on. Don't tell the chick. I'm doing it.
All right.
Make sure.
Take a minute. You're fine. 150 divided by 200 times.
Okay, so like, are you gonna drag this?
What'd you say?
Like, okay, hold on. Let me go.
You type it in exactly how you see it.
That's been going on since November.
Really?
Okay, so like, alright.
I don't know if I
really
did
I
this
got
right.
point
I'm pretty sure I did it.
175.
Do it all together.
Oh, yeah. I
Yes.
did it.
Everything together.
Okay.
Which one?
Yes.
So like,
Did you
wait,
do it? I'm not sure.
what? Oh, I.
Yes.
Add-
Add them in between. So when you actually plug it all in, it's gonna be one big long.
What's
Right. 79, 75.
Would you like this on survey?
7975.
Huh?
How do you make a survey on that?
Like I know how to do it, but it's like my book won't load. Do you have your data on?
It might help, like, it won't load at all. I don't know. It was on this Friday. When I tried
Oh, I see what I did.
Whenever people try
Isn't it
like I when I get it, I fake it till I make it. I hear what they want.
You fake it till you make it.
What sounds right.
So as most of you are coming to the conclusion of, you should have ended up with 0.7975, which is actually an 80%, because that 7 will bump that 9 up. So now, as a weighted average, you've actually earned a B.
Don't you make me violent?
Huh?
No, the 7.
No, you gotta move it 2 over.
Yeah.
That's as the decimal. So as a percentage, this is actually 79.75%. Okay. So then that 7 rounds that 9 up. So as a weighted average, you're actually better off. You actually earned a higher grade with the weighted average. Okay. So it can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're a horrible test taker, weighted average is a horrible thing for you. Oh, all right.
Wait, like,
Apparently I need to go to Miss Love's class.
Wait, what?
So you want us to round that?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, technically on your report card is 79.75. You're not going to get the decimal points. You're going to get the 80%.
Really?
On the, yeah. For some reason now it's showing the decimal points on Power School, but yeah, it'll actually be.
Yeah, why is it
report
doing
card.
that?
I don't know.
Right.
They're trying to tell us.
It's some new thing. Okay. So let's talk about this. Okay. So we already know that tests were 50% of your grade. We know that quizzes were 30% of your grade, and homework was 20% of your grade. Okay. We've already looked at that. What is the highest possible grade that you can ever get if you never do homework? If I get rid of homework,
You won't fail.
what's left? Quizzes and tests. Tests are worth 50. Quizzes are worth. The highest grade you can ever get is an 80.
Oh, it's the
If you
highest.
decide you're doing no homework whatsoever. But the problem with that is you'd have to get 100% on every quiz and every test to earn that 80.
Yes, I know.
Okay. So if you actually look at my class, my homework's worth 10% of your grade. So if you decide to do no homework whatsoever and you ace everything, you can earn a 90 in here without ever touching homework.
Oh, that's why you're not doing
Okay.
something.
Okay. What's the highest possible grade if you never score higher than a 70 on your test? Okay. So we get 70 on my test. Okay. That's worth 50% of your grade. We're not talking quizzes and homework, okay? So we're saying that you get 100 on your quizzes for 30% of your grade. You get 100 on your homework for 20% of your grade. Okay, so we're going to pretend like you ace your quizzes and you ace your homework, but you constantly get a 70.
You want us to add that?
Okay, so you would plug this into your calculator.
Wait, do you want us to put it? You want to do 70 times 0.5?
Yep. Plus 100 times 0.3 plus 100 times 0.2. 85. So if you have perfect quizzes and perfect homework and you average a 70 on your test, you can walk out of here with an 85.
I do approve that, Miss. Bro, I got like a 70 because I be making hundreds on like okay, homework, yeah, homework is 100. It's just a test.
Okay.
That's
All right. Oh, sorry. Your final grade is also a weighted average. Okay. So this is how you would calculate your final grade. And I think I'm going to change this so it's more accurate to what we do here. So your final exam is worth 25%. So cross out 20 and put 25. Each quarter at Lexington is 37.5%.
what week are we on? What week are we on? What this says?
We cross out the 40.
Okay. So cross off your 40. Each quarter at Lexington is worth 37.5% of your grade. And your final exam is worth 25% of your grade. Okay. You can do this yourself and figure out towards the end of the semester, if this is what I want, what do I need to have each quarter? Okay. So if you earn a 94%, you earn a 94 for the first quarter. That quarter is worth 3.375 of your grade. Okay, that's 37.5% as a decimal. And then you get an 87 in your second quarter. That's also worth 0.375. And then you get an 89 on your final exam. And that's 0.25. What grade would you actually get in class? And this is how you would calculate it. What is your final grade overall? This is what the computer does for me, which is a beautiful thing. Because if I had to sit here and calculate this all by hand, I'd probably cry.
Good thing you're not teaching.
Imagine people back in the days who didn't have.
Right, that didn't have all this. Yes.
How would you do it if it's a year-long class?
What?
What about them in the state too?
I'd have to check with Miss Quarter and see what percentage each quarter is going to be worth and stuff for you, but I could show you how to do that.
This is really useful.
So if you actually plug this in, it's 90.125. So you would actually walk away with a 90% or an A in this class if that was your grades.
As well.
Let's figure it out.
Okay, number 2. They want you to find out if this is your semester 1 grade and this is your semester 2 grade, how would I figure out what I need on my final exam to earn me a B or a C at the end? You guys ask that all the time. What do I need on my final if I want to end up with this grade?
Wait, okay.
So, the way we do this, 75%, so 75 for the first quarter. Again, that's worth 0.375. Plus 80 for the second quarter. Again, 0.375. Get me a grade.
Wait, I was doing something once I looked back, so I forgot. How did you get your 75? Or
Each quarter at Lexington's worth 37.5% of your grade.
oh, so we're using hours.
Yes. I changed it because I guess Forsyth County uses 40, 40, and 20.
So if it was 94, we would just put 0.4 if it was like different. If it was just 40.
You want a grade?
No, 3.5.
Would you?
I mean, no. You say you need a grade?
Yes. What is that when you plug it in?
58.
58.
You said a 58.
Someone said 30 had been messed up.
Wait. Oh.
Is that what you got?
Okay.
That's
Plus.
passing. That's a D. I mean, that's a D.
That's an F.
That's a D.
Yeah.
That's a F. That's a D in my book.
It's a no.
Hold on.
It's an F.
That's a D in my book.
A 60 is a D.
No, a 60.
Listen,
is
if
a
you really want to go back to our old grading scale, we can go back to the old grading scale where you needed a 70 to pass. A 70 was a D.
Man, that was hard.
Those were dark times. Very dark times. The heck did I just do? Clear 75 times 0.375 plus 80 times 0.375.
I do good. Schooling for
All right. So now, if I want to get a B, whoa. Why is this board so off already? Did I not just do this at the beginning of the class?
No, we're not sure. I don't think you did.
Nah, you didn't do that.
I swear I did.
You did.
Thank you. At least I'm not going completely crazy.
I probably would.
If I would not be able to touch that.
Why? Because you're short?
Yeah.
Life happens.
Oh, what's that?
All right. So if I want to earn a B, a B is what? What's my lowest B I can ever get? An 80. So technically 79.5%. Technically 79.5% will round us to a B. Okay. Right now I've got a 58. What's the difference there?
You pass a one and you're not passing another. You're both a failure and a pass.
You said 21 point what? 5? 21.5.
Yeah, 21.5.
21.5.
Oh, I thought you was asking. What are you? Y'all was.
We said our final exam grade is worth 25% of our grade. So divide that answer by 25. I know. So 21.5 divided by 25. 0.86. So in order to end up with a B, you need an 86% on your final exam.
Yeah. Miss Love, I need like a.
Okay? If you want a C, what's the lowest grade we can get for a C? 70, which is technically 69.5, will round to that 70.
That's what I was trying to think.
Okay? So if I subtract 58, which is what I have right now, that's 11.5 out of 25. Because quizzes are worth 25. So if I want a C, I only need to score a 46 on my final.
But that's if you want.
If you want to see.
That's what I got on English PG. Let me show you the video.
Okay? So let's go to the lower end of the spectrum. You get a 60 in the first semester. So you get a 60, and that's worth 0.375 of your grade. You get a 68, so you do a little bit better in the second semester. Again, worth 0.375 of your grade.
48.
You said 48? Did you write that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna do 48.
You know I write fast.
So right now, you're walking into your final with a 48%. Okay. You would end up with a 48 if you did not take your final.
Oh man.
Okay.
I would just fail.
So if I want,
Right.
it says C versus D. Let's do a B anyway. So if I want a B at the end, 79.5% would earn me a B. Okay. Minus that 48. 79.5 minus 48 gives me 31.5. This is why they didn't do that. Divided by 25.
I got a question.
You need 126%. Will that ever happen?
No.
No. So with these grades walking into your final, B's out of the question. It'll never happen. Okay. Period. Okay. It's just not going to happen. If you want a C is 69.5%. Again, minus 48. 21.5 out of 25. We already did that up there. You need an 86 on your final exam
Be careful when you open it.
in order to end up with a C at the end. Joshua and Constance are here. Faye's not here.
Right. My boss told me I need to get up. I need to go to college.
Okay. So this shows you right here. Joshua,
You're not going to college?
this shows you right here. Those grades, first and second quarter, really matter towards your final exam. The lower you bring your quarters down, the harder it is to bring up that grade at the end. Okay.
I don't like it.
Questions?
What we do with the
Bro, you can't just like.
I mean, I don't be
All right. So this brings me into today's notes. To what we're going to talk about.
Hey, y'all ain't got it.
Okay. I need you all to stop having individual conversation. We've got stuff to cover today.
That's a lot.
So, chapter 2 is on weighted voting systems. So, in this chapter, we're going to talk about dictators. We're going to talk about dummies. We're going to talk about people with veto power. Okay, so a weighted voting system is any formal arrangement in which voters are not necessarily equal in terms of the number of votes they control. So, inside my classroom, I reign supreme. Supreme. Okay, my vote will outweigh yours. Okay, in the school system, okay, Dr. Wells's vote outweighs everybody's. And then you've got the school board underneath her, you've got the principals, the assistant principals, the teachers, and then finally the students. Okay. So, in this system, one voter has X number of okay, you have some number of votes. So, actually, what this breaks down to is our electoral college voting.
Miss Smith, I forgot that was recording. That was.
Okay, so electoral college voting. Each state is worth a certain amount of votes. Okay, the bigger and more populated states get more votes, and the smaller, minute states get less votes. So, a state like Rhode Island is not going to trump California or Texas or Florida. Okay, so What we do in this type of situation is we do yes or no voting, which involves exactly 2 candidates. So we're actually going to step into history here. So the most common example I can give you is how a bill becomes a law. They're going to say, everybody for, yay. Everybody against, nay. Those are your 2 options or your 2 candidates. Okay. So in these weighted voting systems, we have 3 different things that you need to have. You need to have players. Okay. Players are going to be the voters. These can be individuals, nations, institutions. Okay. It can be anything we want. If you see P sub 1, that means we're looking at player 1. If you see P sub 2, we're looking at player 2. Okay. So the subs that you will see represent what player they are. Each player then holds what we call a weight. This is the number of votes the player controls. Like I said, the people or the players with the most weight have the most power. So in here, I could have a weight of 15, while you guys only have a weight of 7. Okay. Miss Curry could have a weight of 30 then, because she's over top of me. We could then give Dr. Wells a weight of 50 because she's over her. Okay. So the more power you have, the higher your weight. Okay. The sum of all weights should equal the total votes. Okay. The sum of all the weights should equal the total number of votes. So if it's myself, Ivan, and Kimberly, and I've got 10, Ivan's got 5, and Kimberly's got 2, we have a total weight of 17. My 10 plus Ivan's 5 plus Kimberly's 2 gives us a total weight of 17. You'll see these written as W sub 1. That means weight 1. In order to pass anything, we need to win what we call the quota. So your quota is the minimum number of votes to pass a motion. Okay. It's the minimum number of votes to pass a motion, or in other words, to win. The last thing I want you to put here is always round up. So in other words, if you need 37.2 to pass a motion, you technically need 38. Okay? No matter what that decimal is, I want you to round it up.
Wait, by how much?
Okay? No matter what the decimal is.
No matter.
Okay, so it could be 20.1 and you need 21 to win that. Okay, you always round up.
What?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, hold on. So you said it don't matter what this was. If it's 0, you don't round it. But if it's like 1, it's higher.
You round it up in this chapter. Yes, always, always, always round it up in this chapter.
Because I am.
What did she do?
Oh no.
Okay. So if they ask for a simple majority, if they say your quota is a simple majority, we refer back to chapter 1. A simple majority is more than 50%. Okay. So in other words, if I have 40 votes, how many do I need for a simple majority to win? 21. Okay. Cut in half is 20. Rounded up, I need 21 votes to win. This also goes along with overturning a presidential veto. We can actually Congress may overturn a presidential veto of law by a 2/3 vote or majority. That's in the Constitution. Okay, so what you're learning is what we have done throughout history and what we still continue to do. Okay. The way that you'll see this, summary of the weighted voting system. So you'll see a square bracket, and then you'll see a number. That first number is your quota. That first number is always your quota. Okay. Then you'll see a whole bunch of numbers after a colon or a semicolon. These numbers are the weights of player 1, followed by the weights of player 2, so on and so forth, up to how many players you have. I got you. We've got 6 problems after we talk about this last little thing. Okay, the last example on this page. We want to try to create a possible weighted voting system for 4 players. So, in other words, I'm going to need 4 numbers. Player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4. Okay, it says your first player has twice as many votes as the second player. The second player has twice as many votes as the third player, and the third and fourth player have an equal number of votes.
Stuff like this.
Okay, so the easiest way to attack these problems, who has the smallest number of votes?
Third and fourth.
Third and fourth. So, give them some number.
6.
2.
6, we can do 6. So, if third is 6, and third and fourth have an equal number of votes, that means player 4 also has 6. Okay, so this is player 3, and this is player 4.
See, now you gotta
Okay,
double it.
player 2 is twice as many as player 3. So how many votes does player 2 have then?
12.
Player 1 is twice as many as player 2.
24.
So they have 24.
So I said do 2.
Okay, if we would have stuck with Kimberly's and done 2, that means player 3 and 4 would have 2. Player 2 would then have 4, and player 1 would have 8.
Yeah.
Kimberly's talking, she wants small numbers. Okay. Both of these would work for this example though. Okay? You always want to start with your small and work your way up. Questions? All right. So let's do some examples. If you flip your page. All right. So it's always this board. Okay. I've had enough of this board. Anyway, 13 represents your quota. That's how many votes you need to win. 7 is the weight of player 1. 4 is the weight of player 2. 3 is the weight of player 3. 3 is the weight of player 4. 2 is player 5. And 1 is player 6. So if I asked you, giving you this, how many players do I have? 6. It's how many numbers you have after that colon or semicolon, depending on what they use. What's the total number of votes
20.
in this system? You said 20. How'd you get that?
Add all numbers.
Okay, you add up all your numbers. So total number of votes is your 7 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. There are 20 total votes here. What's the weight of player 3? 3.
Oh, this thing's not that
And what's the minimum number of votes you need to pass a motion?
13.
13. That's your quota.
Wow.
Oh, that is so simple.
14. Maybe 14. Did you say you
13.
go higher?
They already give you the quota. That's when you're trying to find the quota. So we'll actually do some of those too. Okay?
Ooh.
Example 2. How many players? 7. How many total number of votes? 42.
I did it without a calculator.
Look at you, Kimberly.
You want a cookie?
Yes, I'm hungry.
She says, yes, I'm hungry. Weight of player 6.
4.
Could you hear me?
And what's your minimum number of votes you need? 33.
All right, let's do the other two.
Okay. Do example 3 and 4 on your own, and we'll go over it.
Oh, yeah. I was doing the board. I can't find the erasable pens. Like, I went to Walmart. They don't have them.
Walmart doesn't have any?
Really?
What do you gotta do, like Staples, Office Max, something like
See, but then
that?
that's a drive.
It's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I got work. And then I got soccer. And then I got homework. See,
She just has so much going on in
I
her
really
life.
do.
She just can't handle it all.
I still haven't. Yeah, I still haven't done my starting on my project.
I didn't hear that. La 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 la. Because your project's due on Friday.
I mean, yours is simple, but hers is.
Who's Miss Loves?
Yeah. There's something about teen brain and find like. It's, I don't know. I'm just gonna pay somebody to do it.
I hope she watches this.
Oh, dang. I forgot she was. I keep forgetting you're recording. God dang.
Miss Love, I hope she watches this because Kimberly just said she's gonna pay somebody to do a project.
Dude, then that's a waste of money as well.
Alright. Are we good to go over this?
Yeah.
All right. Example 3, number of players.
5.
Total votes.
34.
Weight of player 4.
3.
Minimum number of votes.
26.
Number of players.
8.
Total votes.
54.
Weight of player 2.
2.
Minimum number of votes.
48.
Bam. Y'all are super smart.
Right.
I told you, y'all got this. Y'all walked into this class like, what's discrete? I'm gonna fail this class. Somebody help me. Dang it. All right. So,
I used to hear about your first semester kids tell me how it was difficult.
Because they never paid attention. Don't make it so hard.
okay. They never paid attention and they waited till the day before their projects were due and they were like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Yeah, well, if you would have taken the actual week that I gave you, or 2 weeks that I gave you, you wouldn't be crying. Okay, so your quota can never be smaller than what they call the minimum. The minimum, the quota must be more than half or 50% of your total number of votes. It can never ever go any smaller than that. Okay? Your quota also has a maximum value. Your quota can never ever be higher than the total number of votes that you have. Okay? So, again, if we go back to that example where it was myself, Ivan, and Kimberly, where we had a total of 17, I can't tell you that the quota is 20. Why could the quota never be 20?
Because it's more than what we got.
It's more than what we've got. You can never pass anything if you make it higher than what you actually have to win. Okay? It's just impossible. All right. Let's talk about example 5 and example 6.
Hey, we want to do the whole package then.
No.
Don't we have that quick
Girl, bye. You're tired of math. All right. So right now they give you a quota. We want to know what percentage of the vote is that quota. Okay. So they give us 21 for a quota. What's the total amount of votes that I have in this election? Total number of votes, not players. Okay.
34.
34. So they want to know what percentage is 21 out of 34.
I'm gonna give it a guess. 27.
I had a 0.61764705888.
It's 61% of your vote.
I thought it was gonna be less.
21 out of 34 is 61% of your vote. If my quota is 26, what percent does that represent? So again, it's always the quota divided by your total.
34? I got 6. Wait, hold on.
I got 76.
76. So that's 76% of the vote. If my quota is 30, it should go higher, right? 30 out of 34? 88.
Should let somebody else do it. What?
Okay.
I can't even touch my paper.
That's 88% of your vote.
Okay, you got it. You got it, bro.
Okay. Let's look at example 6. What's the total number of votes here?
Somebody says 40.
40?
You're wrong.
They are correct.
It's 44. I'm playing 40.
It's 40. So if I have a total of 40, what's the minimum quota that I can ever have?
Where did she get it from?
21.
Because she added all those
21.
together.
That came from 11 plus 9 plus 6,
Wait.
5,
She's talking about where she
4,
got the total.
3,
She just added the
Discrete.
It's fine. That's what I need. If you can't figure out where these numbers are coming from, I need you to be like,
Yeah,
look,
that's the one.
talk to me about this.
So
Okay?
basically, the formula is
She was
like
looking down.
the total divided by 2 plus 1.
No, I wasn't talking about that.
You can't.
That's what I'm saying, like.
Unless it's a decimal,
I know, I did it.
then it's just rounded up.
I mean, it's always gonna run out.
Yeah. What's the minimum quota we can have to pass a motion? Somebody said 21.
40 divided
Okay.
by 2.
40 divided by 2 gives us 20. It has to be more than half, so it has to be 21.
Okay.
Okay.
Where did you from?
We always
Right,
divide.
I don't know.
She always divides.
Go back to your definition. Minimum says must be more than half of your total votes. So half of your total votes is 20. More than that is 21.
Okay.
Okay. What quota represents needing, and you have to watch the words, more than 3/4 majority. So just like we did for the minimum, first I had to figure out what was half. Okay, because your minimum is more than half. So I need to first figure out what's 3/4. So I need to find 3/4 of 40.
So
It would be
1.75.
31.
I need to know if I have 40 votes, what's 3/4 of that? 30.
31.
Okay, so 30 is 3/4 of 40. Then I need to look, it says more than. So I don't need just 30, I need 31.
I told you. Told you.
Okay, so first figure out what it is and then pay attention to what it's asking you after that. So D says what quota needs at least 5/8 majority? So at first I need to figure out, okay, well, what's 5/8 of 40?
Dang. I'm sorry.
Okay, so 40 times 5/8 is 25. Then look at your word, at least.
Oh, so it's just 25.
So do I need to round that up?
No.
No, it's just 25. Yes.
I didn't become like, this
How do I get what in that?
so
You would do 5 divided by 8.
Yeah.
And it would be 9 decimals.
yeah,
It's okay. You're not the only one to ever ask me that question. Please don't feel slow. It is A-okay to ask questions. Okay? What quota represents needing more than 2/3? So I need to first find out what's 2/3 of 40.
26.6.
26.6.
27.
27.
Okay? More than is 27. So your keyword there is more than.
Oh, wow.
Finally, what quota represents needing at least 5/6 majority? So
18.
I need 5/6 first. What's 5/6 of 40? 33? 33.3. Okay. At least. When it's a decimal, we can't have a quota that's a decimal. It has to be a whole number.
So just be
33.
No.
No, you got
It's
Oh, you
got
have
to
to
be
remember.
34. Because 33 is less than 33.3. That's not at least. So this one has to round up. Okay. You need a whole number, but you can't drop lower than what your actual answer is, which is why it rounds up no matter what the decimal is. So if that would have come out to be 33.1, it would still be 34. Okay. It can't go any lower than that actual number that we're looking at.
34, you go back 33, then I can't go back to 33. So I go to just here.
What do you white out?
Okay. We've got 2 more examples to do, and I am finished. I know. Torture.
It's simple though.
Okay. Coalitions. Coalitions is any number of players that join together and vote the same way.
When I think of coalitions, I think of
Okay. When you think of coalitions, you think of what?
war.
War. I mean, kind of, yeah, that's kind of exactly what we're doing. Okay. So, if Cozy, Naiwan, and Abigail decide they're all going to say yes for something, they would be a coalition of 3 people.
It would be a big
Okay.
because I'm in.
It would be what because you're in it?
It would be big.
Oh,
We'll win because we'll win.
okay. Okay, so some things you need to know. The number of players in a coalition can be 1 to all. So I can have a coalition of just 1 person. I can have a coalition of 3 people. I can have a coalition of 18 people. Okay, so my coalitions can have 1 person up to everybody that's voting. Order of players is not important. So in a coalition, it doesn't matter if Cozy comes first and Naiwan comes second, or Naiwan comes first and Cozy comes second. They're still the same coalition.
I'm gonna come first.
You're going to come first?
Never.
Okay.
You got it.
In order to win, the weight of the players in the coalition have to be greater than or equal to the quota. If it is not, they lose. Okay.
You know what I couldn't get?
All right. So,
Wait, it's not what it finished.
sorry, my bad. My bad.
Like, what makes it greater than? Like,
She finished, and I'm not.
Don't be mean to your sister.
I'm done.
You done? All right. So, take a look at this. In order to find winning coalitions, we need to add up the players' weights. So, the first one they want is to take 1, 2, and 3 and add them together. So that's a 7, a 4, and a 3. What do I get? 14. Okay. Is this equal to or greater than the quota?
yeah.
Yes, my quota was 13.
Let's do the rest by ourselves.
So they're a winner.
Wait, what?
My quota is 13. You need 13 points to win. Okay. So if the first 3 people would gang together and say yes, they would win.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I see what you did.
So this second one, I want to put player 1 with 3 and 4. So that's 7 plus 3 plus 3.
13.
13. Would they win together? Yes. As long as they hit that quota or go higher than it, they are winners. What if I put 1, 4, and 5 together?
No.
No. 7 plus 3 plus 2 only gives me 12. They're losers. They can't pass a motion if they put it together. What if I add up everybody except for player 1?
Then it's already.
So that's 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1.
13.
That's 13. Okay. Try example 2 real fast. And we'll go over those. Tired.
Yeah.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey.
I like that I work a lot of hours on the weekend, but at the same time I hate it because I just want to
Relax for just once. I hear that.
11 hours on Saturday.
Everybody looks at me and they're like, but you get every weekend off. Yeah. Out up, feeding her breakfast, changing her all day long, playing with her. That's not restful at all. As you're working, I'm going to start putting these answers up so you can check them. And 31. That's a win. It's going to be 15, 16, 17. That's another 31. You should have had 2 wins and 2 losses. Bless you. Okay. 2 wins and 2 losses. Okay. If we're talking grand coalition, that's when everybody votes the same exact way. Every player is in that coalition if we've got the grand coalition. Okay. The back side of this paper is going to be your homework.
Oh.
So I'm going to do the first one with you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. All right.
No, but that.
So what you need to do here is you need to come up with all of the combinations that you can do for a coalition to win. So,
Wait, what? What?
Stop and let me explain, or I will just let you do this by yourself and figure it out. Sheesh. I need 15. Okay, my goal is 15. I've got player 1 with a weight of 9, player 2 with 8, and player 3 with 7. Can anybody reach 15 by themselves with their points? No. Okay, so let's talk groups of 2. Who can I put together that will give me 15 or more?
9 plus 8.
9 plus 8. 8 and 7. And 9 and 7. Okay. So this gives me 17. This gives me 15. This gives me 16. Okay. Each one of those can win. So those are all my groups of 2s. My last coalition is always the grand coalition. If I pair all 3 of them together, that gives me 24. They also win. So what I want you to do is look at each one of these examples and try to give me every way that I can pair people together to win. Okay? So first look at everybody that can win by themselves. Then do all your pairs of 2. Do your groups of 3. If there's 4 of them, do your groups of 4. The hardest ones you're going to get to are numbers 4 and 8. Okay, so if you can do everything on your own except for 4 and 8, I feel pretty confident about tomorrow. Okay.
What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is where we figure out who's a dictator, who's a dummy, and who has veto power.
I'm a dictator.
You're a dictator?